So, I want to title this video "The Spirit of Perversion," and the reason I wanted to title it "The Spirit of Perversion" is because that's the spirit I dealt with mainly all of my life, from the ages of 4 and 5, 6, 7. I don't know when it started, but it started, and I think it started basically because I had older cousins. This is when I was in Mississippi. I had older cousins that used to allow me to watch porn. I even had an older cousin, an older male cousin that used to um, molest me. And so those things that happened to me at a young age planted a seed. And as time went on, I allowed the seed to consistently grow. Because after that, after that, when I was in Mississippi still, I would be trying to look through windows at people while they were taking baths, look under doors, look through door holes and things like that. And everything caused the seed to continuously grow. And then I left Mississippi at the age of 9 and came to Saginaw where I had other cousins and everything. So with that still going on, the spirit of perversion still going on. So I started looking under doors, and I kept looking under doors and looking through windows and things like that. And I would even try to touch them while they were asleep because that spirit was consistently trying to grow, and I didn't know how to stop it. It's not that I wanted to do these things, it's just that spirit was in me, and that spirit was able to take control of me because that was my weakness. And what happened was is that as time went on, I would continuously do that, and even though I would get caught and get a whooping for it, I still continue to do it because one thing about a spirit is you can't beat it out of a person. It has to be prayed out of a person. And I didn't I don't know if anybody was praying for me or not, but that spirit continued to take control of me in every situation of my life. And even at a young age, I was watching porn. There was masturbation, and still, like I said, trying to touch on my cousins and while they were asleep, looking under doors, looking through windows and things like that. And this continued all the way up until I was about the age of 16 years old. And at the age of 16, I finally lost my virginity, and I no longer had the desire to touch on my cousins while they were asleep. Or yeah, so after that went on, still had the porn addiction, and still had the masturbation problem and everything. So as time went on, I used to order movies on my Uncle Nem TV. I used to be on the computer giving computer viruses and things like that because that spirit was able to take control of me because that spirit knew my weakness. So once I started getting into relationships and things like that, what happened was is that every relationship that I was in was based on sex. And if the sex wasn't going on, then there was always problems in the relationship. So I got out of one relationship, got into the next relationship, got out of that relationship, got into another relationship, and then after all of that was going on, then cheating started going on because I wasn't satisfied at home, so I got sex from somebody else, and so that continued for a while and everything, and so um, I got 3 kids now because like I said, every relationship I was in was based on sex. So it was always sex. Like I was always used to meeting somebody, and within the first couple weeks or something like that, we started having sex, and after we started having sex, the sex never ceased. So um fast forward a little bit, I was still watching porn and everything, and then I started paying for live sex on the internet, and I was even paying prostitutes and things like that. I'm not ashamed of it because, see, the one thing about it is that it's good to come to God open and honest. And if I feel like if I come open and honest, then somebody will get help from this because there's somebody else that's struggling with addictions, porn addiction, sex addiction, things like that, that needs to hear something like this, that needs to know how a person made it out. Even though it took me 32 years to really be able to make it out, whether I like, if two people jump off the boat at the same time, and that person gets a faster swimmer than me, and that person gets to shore faster than me, they can't judge me based on how slow I got there because at least I got there. So um so today I'm gonna just go and talk about now. I sent my fiance a message telling her that um we engaged right now. I told her all the way up until marriage I don't want to have sex anymore. She said cool, but the reason I did that is because God, I was a while ago. I was sitting at the computer. I was sitting at the computer praying. This was when I was about 18 years old. I was sitting at the computer praying, and God began to speak to me. He said, "Stop praying." He said, "I've been doing everything you want me to do, but you haven't done anything I wanted you to do." He said, "I asked you for a 100% commitment." So I said, "Okay." Then he came right back and said, "I'm gonna work through you to change Saginaw." So I'm like, God, what are you talking about? How you gonna work through me to change Saginaw? I said, I'm sitting here and doing all of these things and not living right. My life ain't right or nothing like that. But you said you gonna use me. But see, we gotta be careful because when God says something, it doesn't necessarily have to be at that moment when God does what He said. But when anytime God says something, you can guarantee that it's gonna come to pass. So for the past about 13, 14 years, I've been trying to really get that commitment with God. And every time I try to do it, I end up back in a sexual relationship again. And I tried to do it again, end up right back into a sexual relationship again. I even went a whole year before without having sex before I went over to this girl's house and we ended up having sex. And the cycle just continued. And I asked God, I said, God, if you're going to use me to change somebody, I said, why does it seem like the more closer I get to you, the more Satan pulls me back? He told me, he said, think of your life. He said, think of it like a bow and arrow. He said, I'm the arrow. He said, I'm the bow. He said, you the arrow. And he said, Satan is the string. So he said, the farther Satan pull you back, he said, not only are you going to go forward, but you're going to shoot forward. He said the moment you come out of, the moment you decide to commit your life over to me 100%, he said, I'm not only going to take you forward, but you're going to shoot forward. So I said, okay. So, and I was thinking, I was like, what is stopping me from getting closer to God? What is stopping me? What's the number one thing that's in my way? What's the number one stumbling block that's stopping me from getting closer to God? And I went back and I had to go all the way to the root of it. See, the Bible say if you had a faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, be thou removed from here and cast into the depths of the sea. But it wasn't a mountain that I was looking at, because a mountain is four. See, you can go around a mountain. You could climb up the mountain. It might take you a little bit longer to get there, but you can always get around a mountain. Whether you gotta climb it or whether you gotta go around it. But what I was dealing with was a sycamore tree. And if you don't know what a sycamore tree is, look it up. But in the sycamore tree, if you look up a sycamore tree, he said, he came right back in the next chapter. He said, if you have the faith the size of a mustard seed, you can say to this sycamore tree, be thou uprooted and cast into the depths of the sea. So I'm like, okay, what's a sycamore tree? So as I looked it up, a sycamore tree, if you look up a sycamore tree, he said, be thou uprooted. So if you look at a sycamore tree, the roots are all in the ground. The roots are deep in the ground. So you could chop the branches off. You can even cut the base off the tree. But the tree is still going to come back because it's deeply rooted into the ground, and the roots go everywhere in the ground. The roots might be 10 feet long, going in a going in a horizontal direction. So it was a sycamore tree that I had. So I had to go all the way back to the source of my problem to figure out what was really wrong with me and what was really stopping me from getting closer to God. And I went back and I thought about it. I said, okay. I said I was molested at a young age. Started watching porn at a young age. I was touching on my cousins and doing all types of crazy stuff. And I realized that was my addiction. That was the one thing that I had in my life that was stopping me from being able to get closer to God. And he said, your sins have hidden God's face from you. So that was the number one thing in my life that was hiding God's face from me. So until I broke that cycle, until I broke that, I remember one time my kid's mama called me. She told me something my son was doing, and she said, if he keep on doing it, I'm going to whoop him. I said, whooping him ain't going to do nothing. I said, it got to be prayed away.